somewhere just after the 500 meter to go mark, Rolly calling for more and just going, actually, I'm done now. Our plan was to do the first 500 as fast as we could. At 500, we put in a 35-stroke sprint, 5 strokes long, 30 strokes, length and power. And we died in the last 500. It was horrible. We were the 5th fastest, I think, in the last 500. 4th or 5th fastest. Having been the fastest for the first 3 500s, the last 500 was horrible. But if you go into the 8th final with a length lead, you don't lose.
Hey, what is up? Welcome back to Last Stroke Counts. Today's guest is a triple Olympian and a very famous Olympic champion from the GB Men's A in Sydney, Ben Hunt-Davis. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for inviting me to join you. It's great to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Easy one. Bumped into, obviously saw the book coming out soon, and this made like a good time to do it. I think definitely some fun things to get into, and a route to Olympic gold that maybe not everyone takes.
I took a long route. Yeah, I took quite a long route there.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get into that. But let's start where we normally do.
Hang on, you mentioned the book. So tell us what you're doing, Ben.
Yeah, so I wrote a book called Will It Make the Boat Go Faster. First edition came out 15 years ago, which is quite a long time ago, and then the 3rd edition actually comes out this week. Comes out on Thursday, and we're really keen to try and get the Sunday Times bestseller list. So we're kind of doing quite a big push, and it kind of tells the story of kind of rowing, and then how do you take different elements of it and apply it to whether it be rowing or any other sport or business or whatever. But I'm sure we'll come to that a bit.
Yeah. Amazing. We'll get into it. First question I always ask is, how did you find rowing in the first place?
So I went to Shiplake, and I knew I didn't want to play cricket because I couldn't catch a ball, I couldn't hit a ball. And then there was hockey, which I didn't know anything about, but that involved balls and sticks. So then the other option was rowing. I didn't know anything about rowing, but it just didn't involve balls and sticks. So that's why I did it, which is probably totally dissimilar from every other rower you've had in here.
No, plenty of rowers have said that it was in order to avoid a different sport. Yeah. That's not an uncommon answer. For some reason, a sport that requires incredible hand-eye coordination seems to be some different form of hand-eye coordination to ball sports.
To the ball.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed rugby at school because it's a big, slow moving ball, and as a second row, you don't have to touch the ball very often, and you can still have a good game. But anything else, I couldn't do. No way.
Yeah. How was that at Shiplake then? Where were they sort of nationally at the time?
So Shiplake were pretty good. They'd kind of made some Henley semi-finals in the last 10 or so years. So in first year, I think we had a quad, which I didn't make. So I kind of wasn't really in anything first year. J15. We had a great coach, Johnny Scotton, who was a woodwork teacher, who was fantastic. He kind of got the whole, it was us against the world kind of vibe. And I really enjoyed it as a J15. J16 actually started doing well. And then kind of lower sixth, kind of did the first day. We made the final. We actually, at the Nat Schools, we thought we were pretty fast. Nat Schools, we didn't make the final. I don't know what happened. We kind of won in a coxless 4 and stuff, and we didn't make the final. And then we went on to make the final at Henley, where we got beaten by Hampton. And Hampton were kind of lucky to make the final because Ethan had lost a blade or something the day before. Otherwise, but we were kind of the 3rd fastest crew. But that was an amazing experience. And then the following year, lost in the semi-final. So Shiplake then was kind of pretty good, and it was really fun. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I did the coupe in the lower sixth, and then for the upper sixth year, all I wanted to do was be a junior world champion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, at what point did rowing come from just avoiding cricket to this is what I want to do?
Kind of J16 kind of time.
Yeah.
J16, I could have gone. We did the national champs as they were then. Got invited to do the Anglo-French, I think it was, and I couldn't do it because my parents lived abroad and I was going abroad. But then the next year, I wanted to go to I wanted to go to Junior World Championships, missed out by a place to James Cracknell. He was the person in the bottom of the team that year. I was the kind of first person not to make the team and did the coupe. And then I just needed to be a Junior World Champion the following year. And that didn't work out so well either, but there we are.
But you did make the team, Junior Worlds.
So my last year at school, made the team, ended up in the Cox pair with the Hampton bloke, who was a massive unit, and we came fourth. The three crews that beat us all were kind of, it was a really tough event that year, and we just weren't fast enough.
Yeah.
Typically, we say that the people who peak or win all the goals when they're juniors, they then tend to do that well in their seniors. Obviously, that rule doesn't apply to everyone.
Yeah, someone like Greg Searle, who was in my year, I mean, he'd got two junior gold medals, three? I can't quite remember. And then he just won everything ever since. So it didn't apply to him, but yeah, it kind of applied to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few. I think more like now with how serious it's getting as well, there's a lot of kids who burn out basically. Like making Junior Worlds is a tough thing to do. Obviously, the standard has moved on so much. But yeah, and then, I mean, we've had other athletes on. I remember Rosie Popper from Australia.
Yeah.
Her parents were rowing coaches and she really wanted to push her to junior, and they basically held her back and was like, no, like,
didn't let her drop.
You've got to be looking longer term. You don't want to just win Junior Worlds. You want to go to the Olympics. And I think they thought that I guess for them as well, there's a lot more travel, being abroad. Like it's a bigger thing, they're spending time in Europe and the cost and all that. It was an interesting perspective of like, just hold fire. You're not trying to be the best you can ever be in 2 years.
Yeah, I think it's really tough now. So I've got two kids around. My son kind of had a great season at Shipley last year and then didn't want to do the Junior Worlds. And he had kind of signed up for it, and I and a few others kind of forced him into it. And this year he just didn't want to do it, which is fine. I totally support, having some time before going off to do the next thing. I think it's a really long, really, really intense season. I think it's really hard.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got school crews doing 150k plus weeks. They're training every lunchtime, every day after school, weekends. Like it's seriously intense for a junior.
Yeah. And then if you're trialing, you're doing, there are just a lot of other weekends you're racing. So I think, it's really hard.
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, that's sport, isn't it?
Another thing about why junior athletes potentially might not want to go in and do some senior stuff is if you've dedicated so much of your youth to like not partying, saying no to all the fun things, and then you go to university and then you sign up onto 15 times a week training, you might just want to do something else for a bit.
Yeah, you got to really want to do it.
Yeah.
So then, having done that, got to Junior Worlds, maybe not under the thing. When moving on, then was rowing still kind of a big factor in what you wanted to do, uni, things like that?
Yeah, so I went to Oxford Brookes, Oxford Poly as it was. I went there because they were doing really well. And the year I went, there kind of wasn't really a coaching setup and system. So I rowed there for 6 months and then actually went to Leander. If I had been a year later and Sprackley had been there, then I probably would have stayed at Brookes the whole time, but he wasn't. It was a year before him. So I went to Leander, managed to get in an under-23 crew, did under-23s that year with 3 guys from Cambridge, which was a really great experience. And then I thought, well, next year's Olympic year, I guess I'll do the under-23s again. And rather than getting a silver, I want to win it, because I kind of came away from those World Championships really disappointed. So I thought, right, next year I'll get an under-23 gold, and instead I kind of ended up going to the Barcelona Games. And then every season finished in disappointment, so I just had to keep going. I just had to go on to the next one and see if I could do better.
I mean, but that's the crazy, like you said, maybe not the final result you want, but 1990 Junior Worlds, 91 Under-23 Worlds, 92 the Olympics. Like, that's quite
yeah, I mean, I think, but I think doing that now is next to impossible. Mm-hmm. I think now it takes so much longer to make the steps. Then, so James Cracknell, Greg Searle, who we were at same years at 3 different schools. Mm-hmm. They both went juniors, seniors in a year.
Wow.
So quite a few people did it in the women's team. Gillian Lindsay did exactly the same thing. So then it was kind of more acceptable, I guess. Actually, at Barcelona, there were 2 of us. Greg and me were the only 2 of our age, and then there was a bit of a gap to people a bit older. But it was doable then.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's a pretty nice lineup as well in that Barcelona 8.
Some good names.
Yeah. The Barcelona 8 was, I mean, I was kind of pretty stupid, pretty naive, but it was really, the whole selection, the whole setup, the whole system. Final trials in Nottingham, Steve Redders was ill and kind of didn't do that well, got beaten by the Searles, and everyone was going, oh God, what do we do here? And then they tried to put together an 8 of the next people, and I think we lost to UL at Essen Regatta or something. Kind of the whole thing was a total shambles. And then they, at Lucerne, which was going to be the selection regatta, they had 2 coxless fours, 2 coxed fours. I was in a coxless four, me, Tim Foster, Martin Cross, Jim Walker. We missed the start to our heat. We were kind of in the warm-up area, and we saw this coxless fours race go past with 5 crews in it going, that's weird. I wonder who's supposed to be in lane 4.
Which idiot hasn't made the start time?
And so the whole thing, and then they kind of went, right, tomorrow morning, if you do a time trial early, do a certain time, you can get into the rep. And then as we were voting for the rep, the officials came and went, this doesn't count. A few countries have complained. You can do the rep, but whatever you do, it doesn't matter. Mm. And so then we kind of went home going, are we going to the Olympics? Are we not going to the Olympics? It was a nightmare. And then the kind of illness problem, we ended up doing the 2K up at altitude at Silveretta with a boatman in it and having flown out some other spares because everyone was ill and injured. And we went to Barcelona. We made the final, came last in the final. And it was tough. It was tough. I mean, I guess for me, it was better because it was my first year in the team. And I went, things can only go up from here. Mm. But it was, Rupert Opholz was in there, Tim Foster, all sorts of really, really good people in there.
Yeah.
It just didn't work.
First race with cleavers as well.
Yeah. So we did some time trialing on the Rothsay with the Macons and with cleavers, and we were, the cleavers are better. And then Crossy was going, yeah, but my back doesn't like it. He was kind of the bow man. So we went, right, we'll use Macons. And then we got slaughtered in the heat of the Olympics and went, Concept 2, can we have some choppers, please, some big blades? And I mean, it was a mess.
Yeah, it's where we heard obviously we've had Tim and Martin on, and they both talked about it a little bit. It seems kind of crazy. I think the crazy thing for me seems that, okay, from now we're talking 30 years ago, but even if you looked at like where GB was in sort of 10 years after that, like it seems like it was such an not unprofessional, it was very amateur. Everything was being done last minute, crew selection, this and that, all the rest of it. And then you've just seen like from that point, the GB rowing just seemed to like take off. Yeah.
Totally changed.
Do you think that was maybe in response to not having the best? I mean, this obviously still came away with 2 golds.
So I think lottery funding.
Yeah.
Played a massive, massive part. I think that, we got 2 gold medals out of 5 gold medals in Barcelona. We got 2 athletics, 1 cycling, 2 rowing. 2 athletics, is that right? I think so. Sally Gunnell and Linford Christie.
Yeah.
Chris Boardman on his bike, and then 2 rowing. The Searle brothers and Steve and Matt. Rowing was a phenomenally successful sport. We went along to the Atlanta Games. Britain got 1 gold medal and 15 medals in total. 2 of those 15 came from rowing. Mm-hmm. A gold from Steve and Matt, and a bronze from the 4 with Tim, Greg, Johnny, and Obby. It was a phenomenally successful sport, despite all the rubbish that was happening kind of behind the scenes. And then lottery funding changed so much. And then Tanner becoming a full-time team manager, he was incredibly well organized and disciplined.
Yeah.
And that made a massive difference.
Yeah. I sort of think, obviously, lots of people have different opinions of Tanner, but I sort of think the guy who's in charge of the organisation and the money can't be a nice guy. That's the job where you can't say yes to everyone. That's the job.
David was ruthlessly efficient.
Yeah.
And the team needed somebody to grab it and be incredibly efficient. He was very, very good at kind of doing the national lottery negotiations and stuff. I think maybe he wasn't so good at kind of sponsorship stuff with kind of corporates. I think we probably could have done better there. But in terms of, him and Jürgen, pulling the system together, And there are loads of problems with the system. There were loads and loads of problems then, and there always will be. But I think the David Jürgen combination of professionalizing the sport in many, many ways was so important. Yeah, it was really important.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, I think he took that role on, and he was the guy that wasn't trying to make friends with everyone. He was here to do a job, and he was doing that job.
Yeah, and yeah, that's exactly right.
And like when you see where it counts when, what was it, 2010, we went to Belarus and for under 23 Worlds, and we stayed in a hotel which was questionable. But David had flown out the year before and looked at it with someone else, maybe, and gone and looked around, and this was like the best hotel in the whole of Belarus. And you think, like, that's pretty cool for the team managers to be a year ahead on it, going out, checking the hotels, those kind of things, like stuff that comes up to make sure that things that almost, if I hadn't heard of that happen, wouldn't know it. But you're like, okay, wow, and this hotel was like on the edge. So you think, thank God we're not anywhere else.
Yeah. Him and Maggie Netto was this kind of number two, I think she did most of the recce's. They had an eye for detail, and they organized the team. The logistics, the operations, the professionalism of the team really, really well.
Yeah.
They were just coming up with it as well. It's not like they had a blueprint of another country in rowing, I guess, to follow. And obviously the work that they've done, David and Jürgen, the GB team right now is run by a completely different personnel, but you can really still see the echoes of their work.
Yeah. And Jürgen and certainly I think their fingerprints are still all over the team. And taking it from where it was, kind of amateur and kind of not well organized, to being well run. And clearly, I'm not saying all the decisions they made were right. I'm not saying, there were all sorts of things that you look back and you go, oh my God, that could have been better. There were selection decisions that were horrible. There were all sorts of things, but where they moved the sport from to was incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Not without issues, but they did an amazing job at what they did.
Yeah.
So then post 92, like you said, funding's come in. What are you sort of doing? Are you still having to have a job at that point? Are you now kind of full-time-ish? Where are you based?
So I was living in Oxford. I coached the Oxford University Lightweight Women, the Oxford University Women. My track record was pretty bad. I was kind of in charge of the Oxford women's rowing for 10 races, and we won 2. It wasn't great. So the first lightweight race I coached, which was the first bit of coaching I'd ever done. I came back from the Barcelona Olympics. I'd never really watched rowing. I'd just done it.
Yeah.
I guess I watched some heavyweight men, but I did heavyweight men. That's all I knew. And then I kind of was up at Godstow, the Teddy's Boathouse, with these, university girls who've been rowing. This was probably their second year rowing. They were kind of lightweights. And I was going, what is this? And I did a really bad job. We lost by 27 seconds down the Henley course, which is, and the Cambridge girls were really good that year. They came in the top 6 or 8 at the women's head. They were really good. Unfortunately, I'm really sorry, girls. My lot were really bad. And then the next year we lost by a foot. The third year we won. And actually we had, from then, all the races were really competitive. We just didn't win very many. And I did, I think, 4 years with the lightweights, and then took on the heavyweights as well. Yeah. And so I did that kind of part-time. I kind of worked in a bingo hall. I did some other stuff to get some funding so that I could train. That's what was most important.
Where were you based out of training?
I was training from Leander.
Okay, yeah.
So I kind of commuted down from, I kind of normally coached early at Godstow, went down to Leander, did kind of 2-3 sessions, and went back to a gym session at the running track gym in Oxford in the evenings.
Yeah, pretty intense.
Yeah, it was quite hard.
And they're studying, coaching, training.
No studying. No. So I didn't last very long at Brooks, Oxford Poly. My first year, I was doing civil engineering because someone said it was easy. Thanks. I kind of failed my first year exams by quite a long way. Second year, I started town planning. And then after 6 weeks, they wanted me to hand some work in, which I thought was pretty unreasonable. So I quit. And at that time, that was kind of end of 91. And at that point, Jürgen was saying to me, you've got a choice. You can either study or you've got a chance of going to the Olympics. What do you want to do? So my studies were never a particularly high priority.
I mean, your university was at Leander then.
My university was at
If
Leander.
Jürgen Grobler tells you that, then come on, what are you going to do?
Then what are you going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you were basically training with the immediate group of Jürgen's underlings. That would be Steve, Matt, James, and Tim.
Yeah. James was at Molesey for part of the time. He was at Leander for part of the time. There was through 96, a lot of the team, 2/3 of the team, for 92, right up to 92, 2/3 of the team were based at Leander, the other third kind of ish at Molesey. And I was a through and through Leander, kind of pink-blooded. I was down there for 10 years.
So you could experience, obviously, the difference in Jürgen's coaching versus what happened before Barcelona. Was that when you first kind of got under his wings, when you started going to Leander?
So yeah, I did the under-23s based at Leander. I did it with three Cambridge guys. But that was down at Leander. Terry Dillon Senior coaching us, who was amazing. But under Jürgen's wing, and then post under-23, post World Championship, Senior World Championships, I was definitely in Jürgen's group, preparing for the games. I got literally a lucky break. I was kind of pairing with I can't remember who I was pairing with, and then James Cracknell. We organised a rugby match, Leander against Marlow Rowing Club, Rugby Club. I can't remember. James Cracknell broke his collarbone. James were pairing with Terry Dillon, who had been to the games before, kind of multiple World Championships, and they were pairing together. James broke his collarbone in January, and the next set of trials I was pairing with Terry. As James a sub, we won the trial, and that was the end of James's Olympics, basically.
Wow.
And so I kind of continued pairing with Terry through to final trials, and then was in the 8. So I was definitely part of Jürgen's group from before Barcelona through to 98.
What was that like looking back? Obviously, not many people can say that they've been coached, presumably also as closely by Jürgen during those times, because I imagine he was a lot more hands-on than potentially some of the guys that went to Rio.
So through the winter, sometimes the group was pretty small. I mean, there were some years where the group through the winter, was small. So I got a lot of hands-on coaching from Jürgen, which was good. There was lots of Ben, and I came. It was kind of really frustrating. I came third in final trials, I think 5 times with 5 different partners, and then 2 years I ended up in the second boat, once the pair, once the 4, but most of the time I was still in the 8. I didn't want to be in the 8. The 8 always lost. I didn't want to be in it. I wanted to be in a better boat, but I never got in there.
Because the 8, the last time GB won something in the 8 was 1912. So at that point, it was just like, it was like not the boat that you were going to go and win a gold medal in.
Yeah, I mean, so the 8 had won medals at the World Championships in 89. There was a really young crew that got a medal at the World Championship, a bronze in 89. And then in 91, they got bronze in 91 as well.
Okay.
But then, 92 was 6, 97, 98, 99, 99 was different. So, all through the 90s, the 8 was a bottom boat, and it did badly.
Yeah.
You guys didn't have a good group of guys for the 8, or there was maybe like no concept of how to move that particular boat? Because obviously at that point GB was excelling in smaller boats like a 4 and a pair rather than those bigger types.
I think we didn't have a good enough group. I mean, there were some really good people in there, but we didn't have the depth. And then also, we changed coaches every year. While Jürgen had consistency with his between 92 and 2000, he had consistency with the top boat, either a pair or a 4. From 92 through to 96, the second boat was a 4. Steve Gunn was looking after it the whole time. He had Greg and Johnny.
So you 4 minus. So you were in it in 93 Worlds. Did 4 minus.
We came 5th. Tim kind of knackered his back, went out, and then I couldn't get back in the full.
So 94, you went in the eighth, 95 in the eighth, 96 in the Olympics in the eighth again. How was that with Gary Herbert coxing?
Gary's great. Gary and I are really good friends. I mean, Gary just
another voice of rowing. Yeah.
Another voice of, his cheerleading capabilities are pretty good.
I bet.
I mean, I really enjoyed being coached by Gary. We've been friends ever since. So,
but just hearing that voice on the speakers would just, for me, that was the first rowing I ever, when I was 14, 15, you just tune into the Olympics, don't you?
And Gary's commentary is what you got down through the Cox box.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good, man.
So having done that cycle, so like I said, 92, brand new, right, this can only get better. Then you've had a really tough cycle, hitting a lot of sort of B finals. How did you feel your race went in 96?
96, we had so 95, it's Sean Bowden, who was at Notts County then, came down to Leander to start came down to the south to start coaching the GBA, which was really good. He was it was great. And we kind of started to build something in 95, and then at Tampere in Finland, there was a kind of massive, great crosswind and basically finished in the lane you're in, we thought we were better than how we did. We thought, we were never going to get a medal, but we were better than what we got. And then through the kind of winter leading up towards the 96 games, we had a really good winter. And then our stroke guy, Richard Rogers, who was fundamental to us, kind of knackered his back. And then we had a terrible, terrible summer. Absolutely appalling, where they were going, actually, do we send an 8? I think we were very, very close to just not going at all. And we kind of finally organised a crew probably 6 weeks before the games. On the final preparation camp, we were still swapping seats, just trying to go, how can we get some kind of rhythm, and we lost out in the rep by 3 feet. I mean, it was horrible. It was horrible. And that was very, very nearly the end for me.
That's exactly what's going to be my next question. So at that point, there's probably a lot of people who'd be like, I had a go. I got as far as I got. What was the decision? How long did it take you to think, I want a bit more from this?
So I literally after the rep, we kind of went to the kind of mix zone where I could my mum was in there, and I think I was having a good cry on her shoulder. And I saw the Russian 8 wandering around who had beaten us by about 3 feet. And they looked the same as me. And it really pissed me off.
Yeah.
It really, really pissed me off. And I just thought, I can't finish like this. I've got to, if they can do it, why can't I? And it took quite a long time to actually recover. I took some time off. I probably was off for nearly 3 months trying to get back into it. But from straight after the rep, I was going, it's got to be different. And very nearly it wasn't.
I remember, one of Jürgen's, that he said to us was every now and again, he'd be like, remember, they are all men, they all boil in water. I get what he means. I think that maybe might be a German saying that hasn't 100% translated, but he's right. We would all boil in water, I guess.
Yeah.
I can see the point. So that was, at the time, are you then still full-time? Or you're still having to juggle bits and pieces? And
I would, still kind of coaching, training. 97, Bobby Thatcher and I got into the pair. And the 8 was kind of a lot of IC guys, really young group. Bobby and I were in the pair. We had quite a good World Cup run, and then disappointing.
Three silvers.
Yeah,
in 97.
Behind the Lithuanians every time, and then the French, Norwegians. Can't remember who came out of the woodwork at the World Champs, and we came 5th, which was disappointing. 98 went, right, we'll do the pair again. It'll go faster. We'll be better. And I think Jürgen went, Bobby, Ben, can you do the 8? They need a bit of experience. Can you do the 8 for the first World Cup? And we won't do the pair. He went, you can do the pair for the second World Cup. Do the 8. We did the 8. And I went, right, can we get back in the pair? And he went, no, you're in the 8. Thanks.
That sounds familiar.
Thanks, yeah. I don't want to do the 8. And 98 was another horrible season. We came 7th.
No, you got fourth, second, third in the World Cup series, and then 7th at the World.
7th at the Worlds. It was horrible.
How do you keep going?
So in Varese, on the final training camp for the world champs, we did 2 1,000 meter pieces, which were really quick. Quite where they came from, what happened, I've got no idea, but they were fast enough. The only time we ever saw it was those 2 1,000s. And then we came back and we started to change. Kind of Martin McIlroy, Steve Ingham, Chris Shamrock started to go, things can be different and we can do things differently. We moved away from Leander. Mm-hmm. We moved to set up from the British Rowing Boathouse in Hammersmith, where we could do things differently. We could have a different culture. We could have a different approach. We could look at stuff differently. Martin could actually coach us from a launch sitting on the end of our blades rather than on bike. Mm-hmm. And we just changed.
What do you think it was about those things, that culture and stuff, that suited who was in your crew more? Because obviously what Jürgen's doing works, but it wasn't working for maybe your squad.
So my years on the team under Jürgen, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 7 years, I lost everything doing Jürgen's program. In those 7 years, Steve and Matt won everything. And the obvious thing is to keep doing Jürgen's program because clearly it works. And you go, yeah, it works for them. It hasn't worked for me for 7 years, and there's no reason why it should start working for me now. So we had to just go, if we change, we might go better, we might go worse. But we can't go worse. Coming 9th rather than 7th. I mean, who cares? Mm-hmm. So we kind of went, let's be really clear about what we want to do, and we want to try and win. Mm-hmm. And this is kind of really what my book's about. It's going, we set the goal at the beginning. Again, we want to be a gold medal winning team. We want to try and win. And then we went, how do we do that? Being somewhere different where we can have different quality conversations. At Leander, people used to take the piss out of the amount of time we spent standing around talking before and after sessions. They were going, but if we just go on and do 20K without discussing what we want to achieve, it's junk miles.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah.
It's just junk miles. And if we're not debriefing afterwards, then what are we really trying to learn? And Steve and Matt would kind of go and do their stuff and come back and go, was that all right? Yeah, it was pretty good. And they'd go and have breakfast, and they'd squeeze the 3 sessions in the morning so they could go and do some stuff in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. It works for them every time. But for us, we need to actually go, specifically, what do we want to get out of this 20K UT2? And therefore, what do we need to change in order to get it? And how are we going to make the changes? Then let's go and do it. And then go, right, how did it work? Let's maximize the break we can take before the next session, maximize the break. So we would start the first session, we'd get to the kind of Hammersmith at 7:30 or 8. And we would spread 3 sessions out, so we'd leave at 7 p.m. So we could maximize food, sleep, rest, recovery, briefing, debriefing, and trying to make sure that every session we did was actually making the boat go faster.
Yeah. And what you're describing is how it works now. Exactly. That's the whole point of Caversham.
I mean, speaking to Steve Trackmore now, he's just going in, he's got the same, because, he's coaching the 8, and he stroked the 8 that I was in. Yeah. And he's going, trying to get everybody to focus on going, it's not just 20K. This is what we're trying to achieve. It's something that he is still trying to drum into the athletes. He's still trying to get people to click, because it's so easy just to do the miles.
Yeah.
And doing the miles isn't good enough.
Yeah. And I've talked about this, do some mindset coaching and stuff. And I think you think that you're giving it everything if you're just hammering every meter. But that's also what the Germans, the Americans, the Canadians, it's what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
And the difference is to go, actually, let's be really, really granular. Let's be really specific. What do we really want to get out of this? And how are we going to do it?
if we want to make this change around the back end, let's be really clear about how we're going to do it, and let's be relentless for the next 20 kilometers on doing it, rather than just. I mean, the coach we had before the Barcelona games, his kind of thing was, right, let's go and kill some fish, and that was kind of the pre-race chat. You go, great.
Yeah, it's it sounds now like it's what everyone does, and then obviously, but that's kind of another level of the professionalization of it. And like I said, I agree with you that I think that the easy bit is just hammering the miles, because everyone's hammering the miles. But who's seeing the physio every week? Who's stretching before and after? Who's talking about what they're doing? Who's really focusing? And the whole sort of the 10,000 hours theory book is all about. Everyone's like, oh, right, so all you need to do is do something for 10,000 hours and you'll be professional. No, it's 10,000 applied hours.
Purposeful practice. Anders Ericsson, who wrote the book, talks about purposeful practice. It's not 10,000 junk hours, which is so easy to do. In every single walk of life, it's easy just to work hard. To get to the end of the week going, I've done the hours. Great, so's everyone else.
Yeah.
What have you done that's different? How purposeful have those hours been?
Well, yeah, because you're stuck in a routine of training. You've got your program for the next sort of 3 weeks. You could just sort of sleepwalk through it unless you're focusing, like you said, on making the changes every session. So for your group, did you know that, for example, you needed to improve strength, erg scores, technique, or just sort of gelling or something like that? I mean, let's start with this. Where were you or your group around 2K ergo at that time? Because obviously just to show the kind of standard that we're talking about, and then you're still having to make that step up.
So I can't remember what our average 2Ks were at the beginning of the kind of in 98. In 2000, our average was, I think it was 56, I think. Lewis had the fastest. He did a 48. Stevie Trapmore couldn't quite break 6 minutes. He won't like me saying this.
Didn't quite snake it under.
He did. He was kind of 0.1 over or something. So I was actually, last week I was working with Steve Ingham, who was our physiologist then. He was in 98, he was 24, finished at university a few years beforehand, doing sports physiology, didn't have a master's, and appeared in front of Martin, and Martin was going, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this differently? And Steve basically went, so if you look at experienced rowers in an Olympic cycle, so kind of the top people will improve by 2.4% every 4 years. He had kind of tracked what we had done for the previous few years, and there had basically been zero improvement. And in those 2 years we had left, he actually got us to improve 2.6%, I think it was, over the 2 years rather than 4 years, by getting us to do, he was going, so VO2 max is, the correlation there is clear, but peak power per stroke, people weren't looking at. And he got us to do loads and loads of strength work. He got us to do the kind of rate 20 sessions everyone does now, either 20 or 30 minutes rate 20.
Mm-hmm.
That came from Steve Ingham.
Okay.
But it wasn't maximal then. It was kind of intensity, power, and it was a very specific session that he got us to start doing to improve a certain bit of kind of power. And we stopped doing Jurgen circuit training. We did more kind of heavy lifting. And all the intensity stuff we did on the ergo. Right, kind of, because in the gym, the kind of circuit training was intensity, but not muscle specific. And he was going, it's got to be muscle specific. And our weight training changed a lot. We would go to the British Olympic Medical Centre to do the physiological tests that we had to do. And then Steve would pack up his kit, and 2 days later would set it all up in the Imperial College Boathouse and get us to a totally different set of tests that he was more interested in. But Jurgen wanted the other set, so that's what we had to do. And then we'd do the set that Steve actually really wanted us to do so that we could work on the stuff that we needed to work on.
So yeah, at the time there's no telemetry on boats, so you're doing all your sort of feedback is from the rowing machine.
Yeah, so we measured as much as we could on land, rowing machine, and weights and stuff. And then in the water, it was about rhythm and timing. It was about, and we were on the tideway, so we measured basically nothing on the water. And then before World Cup regattas, we went to Ely to get some still water, and then we would kind of look at the clock. But other than that, it was the numbers on land and the rhythm in the boat.
Nice.
And if we got the feel right and if the numbers were right, the view was we should be able to go fast.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked.
So yeah, 99 World Cups.
Second.
Yeah. Big deal. Is that, are you now sort of right, here we go, it's working, what we're doing?
We turned up to Harzewinkel, the first World Cup regatta, and we had a I guess it was 3 weeks beforehand, 3 or 4 weeks beforehand, we went right, what's the goal for Harzewinkel? And I was going, we've got to get a medal. And actually, the goal we ended up coming up with was we've got to row the rhythm.
Nice.
And I kept going, no, we need a goal. We need to get a medal. And I can't remember who it was. I think it was most of the other guys going, no, we need to just do the process. We need to row the rhythm, and the rest will take care of itself.
Process, not outcome.
And in the final, I remember we'd kind of done a few practice starts beforehand, but not much. We kind of scrambled off the start, and we just kind of got into a rhythm. And we go, rhythm, get the movement right, get the movement right. And at the end, there was a bit of a scramble for the line, and we kind of went to warm down. And I remember the kind of officials were shouting us about stuff, and we got silver.
What's he shouting at me for?
And they want us to go and get a medal. Oh, right, okay, medals. Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. And there was a kind of, one of those kind of moments of going, this stuff works. This stuff actually, so we got beaten by the Romanians there. We then went to Vienna, got beaten by the Romanians again. And actually, Tim Foster was on his way back from injury, came in for Vienna, hadn't been with us in Munich, came in at Vienna, and was going, we got to be in the race to win it. And so we lost to the Germans at Henley, and we went, right, we were the same speed. They put in a 30-stroke push, got a canvas quarter of length, I can't remember what, and then we were the same speed. So we went, right, we've got to be able to do some speed, and we've got to get off the blocks fast. So in the heat, we had the Romanians in the heat at Lucerne, and we went, we will lead at halfway no matter what. It doesn't matter what happens after that, but we will lead halfway. We led to halfway, and I think we might have been last in the heat, but we had a rep, so it was okay. And the Romanians never ever beat us again. And we just went, we've learned something here. And then the final, we came second. Can't remember who beat us. And then the World Championships,
second.
We came second. And we came away going, we can win this. In the World Championships, the final, our middle 1,000 was the fastest out of anyone by some way. And we had a good lane. It was pretty windy. We had a good lane, but it was really, we thought we'd kind of hang on the start, push through the middle, get our nose in front with 500 to go. The Americans, who had never been led before, they would see somebody row through them. They would roll over and die, and we'd go on to glory. And we hung on, we pushed through the middle, we got our nose in front with 500 to go. They changed gear and pissed off, and we rolled over and died and came second. But it was a good plan, and we came away from that going, we can win this. And rather than just working on the middle, on the rhythm, the pace, yes, we know we need to have the fastest middle in the world. We need to now actually get out the blocks fast. And pretty well every single session we did, in singles and pairs and eights, finished with some starts.
Nice.
Steve Ingham changed the weight training program. We just had to develop power and speed. We did loads of resist and assist on the ergo. Bag on, 10 strokes or 20 strokes or whatever, bag off, maximum drag, 10, 20 strokes, whatever it was. We did on the ergo, in the boat, loads and loads of resist and assist, speed, power. And we turned up and we had a pretty fast start too, by the time it came to 2000.
Again, it just sounds like you're doing a lot of the things that now is a part of the sport, like looking at the data that much, changing what needs to be changed, specificity in training programs between athletes. Like that was something that even when I was in the team was still only, like I briefly was in the senior team, like 2012, 13, 14.
You can trace the source now to where that.
Yeah, and you like still then there was, the physiologists were kind of changing, people had different things to do. There was maybe some resistance. Jürgen was like, there's one program and you do. And listen, I'll say like, I still, and I've said this before, Jürgen's program was, if you can survive it, you'll go to the Olympics and challenge for a medal. And I'd rather try and complete a program that meant that when I went to the Olympics, I could challenge for a medal and maybe fail, which is what my body did, than follow a program where no one wants to go to the Olympics and come last or 10th or not turn up.
Yeah.
And there's an argument about it, but
And I guess that, so we were in a position where, well, no one else in the crew had been to a games before, but I was kind of proof in the crew that doing what we'd always done wasn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
And the program that Martin, Steve Ingham, and Chris Shambrook and Harry Mahon put together was different and very, very specific. We didn't just do, well, we'll do this training and then that'll sort us out. And then, Jürgen's program will get us ready. We'll do the whatever pieces he wants at the training camps and that'll just it'll get everybody ready. We were going, no, what do we need? And the plan was very clear. The first year was build a rhythm and a pace. Mm-hmm. The middle 1,000 had to be faster than everybody else. That was what the plan was. And we kind of tinkered with it a bit, going, actually, we need some speed to be in here, but it's the middle 1,000. The next year, the plan was very simple. Well,
simple on paper.
Simple on paper. Maintain the base speed. Make sure we still got the fastest middle 1,000, but have the power and the speed to have the fastest first 500. And actually combining, I think in 2000 we were pretty inconsistent because as we worked really hard on our speed and power, we struggled with the rhythm, and we kind of kept messing up where we didn't find the rhythm and the pace that we needed because we were trying to do both systems at the same time, mm-hmm. which we found really, really hard.
And then also you had rotating personnel as well. I'm assuming you did some crew order changes during those 2 years, but also you had Tim for the 99 World Championships, and obviously he's gone on to do the 4. So yes, you got a silver with him, but now you have to replace that. And Tim's not an easy man to replace.
No. And I mean, Tim was interesting. He came in for one World Cup. I think maybe he knew he was going to be in the second and third World Cups. And then he was told he would be in the 4. And the 4 had won at the World Cups at Lucerne. And Tim was in the 8, and Jürgen said, Tim, stay in the 8. And Tim said, no, I'm not going to do the 8. And we spent about a week with Tim. Normally, Tim is so laid back and relaxed, and he's obviously got a fire in there, but you don't see it very often. Mm. And this is kind of the only time I saw the stubborn Tim that kind of sits below the surface of him going, I don't want to row with these guys. I want to row with those guys. I will not do it. I will not do the 8. I will do the 4. And this went on for maybe a week before he finally realized he wasn't going to win the fight. And he went, fine, I'll row with you. So that was kind of a side of Tim the only time. And he clearly is there. He's incredibly talented, competitive. That was really interesting. And then he was in for the World Championships. And he's a hard person to replace.
Well, 7C as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's pretty integral part of the crew order.
Yeah. And then the crew was, each World Cup we did through 2000, we had different people in it.
Yeah.
We were swapping people in and out, trying to find the right combination. We didn't make the decision until after Lucerne. It was really, really tough.
So looking at your 2000 World Cup, first one was second again. You started thinking,
great heat, and then the final we kind of messed up. We kind of let the Croatians take off the start, and we couldn't get back on terms.
Are you crossing the line thinking, is this ever going to change?
Thinking we just are a bunch of idiots. We should, if we had done what we did in the heat, it would have been plain sailing. Now the Croatians may not have, they may think something different, but we came away going, we just messed, we threw that away.
There was no pointing fingers at Luca.
No. And then Vienna second World Cup, we won.
Yeah.
In a pretty bad, the conditions were really, really bad.
Yeah, I looked at the time as like 5:58 or something. Yeah.
It was horrible. We nearly sank in the heat.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, the heat, we so nearly sank. We won it by quite, on the start, most people were laughing. We were going, we're pissed off, we're going to nail this. Luca caught an overhead crab in the waves, lost his seat. I mean, the whole thing was carnage, and we still won because the conditions were so bad that in the final, the conditions were nasty, but okay. We rode pretty badly. We didn't get the rhythm we wanted, but we did well enough to win, which was that was my first ever kind of proper international win.
How did that feel?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
until about 20 minutes later when Martin was going, "You bunch of bloody idiots, what were you doing? That was terrible." Okay, we just won. Anyway, he was right. He was right.
Yeah. I mean, that goes back to process, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
The result, you can get a perfect result, but the performance, the process, the input, we came away going, we got a great result, we're great. And he went, "You bunch of idiots. You rode like rubbish. You're rubbish. The result, forget the result." And we then did Henley. And so in Vienna, we beat the Aussies. And Martin was pretty quick to go. They got off a flight 3 days ago. Of course, he beat them. They came to Henley, beat us by a length and a half. That was nice. And then we went to Lucerne, where we went to Lucerne the day before. Lewis his back had kind of stiffened up. The morning of the race, his back went, and we kind of had to paddle across the lake straight into the pontoons, and he had to be picked out of the boat. And we got no spares. We went back to the hotel with a final in the evening going, we don't know who we're going to row with.
Was it Greg?
So Greg had raced in the pair in the morning, and he was kind of around Martin going, I'll do it. And Martin was kind of studiously ignoring him. The 4 raced about an hour before us. They lost. It's pretty well the only race they lost in those 4 years.
And then James comes in.
They came into the pontoon, and Martin went, "I'll have James."
I bet he did, yeah.
And the view was that Greg, he didn't row neither Greg nor James rowed like us.
Right.
And if Greg got in fresh, he would pull us apart from the inside. If James got in knackered, he would have to fit in with us.
You basically, it works if he's half knackered.
And angry about losing.
Yeah. And he got in, and suddenly we're going, holy shit, somebody in the boat's pulling hard. Kind of felt pretty different. And James did it. He came across, he kind of lied through his teeth going, "We rode so badly. I'm fresh as a daisy. Don't worry, boys, we've got this," which was exactly what we needed to hear. The fact was he was knackered. And afterwards he was pretty good to 1,000, and then he died.
Yeah.
And we went into 1,000 with about a length, and we finished with about a foot. But it wasn't the domination we wanted over the Australians and everybody else. But it was a win.
So that's the interesting thing, because on paper, you just look at the results on paper, you're like, right, 99, 3 silvers, and then 2,000 silver, gold. Okay, it's happening now. But those 2 golds had asterisks on them. One was awful weather, one was not the right crew. You still haven't had a chance to be like, this is what we can do.
Yeah.
And then you've got, what is it, from 3rd World Cup to Olympics, 6-8 weeks, something like that.
9 weeks, something like that.
Did you go up to Silveretta and you get ready for the World Challenge? No, what, for the Olympics?
No, we didn't get Silveretta.
You didn't?
No, we went to Ely. We didn't want to go to Silveretta.
That must have been
the battle with Jürgen and David was massive. We didn't want to go to Silveretta. Firstly, 2K, spinning an 8, it just takes too long. Yeah. And we were going, we've got to be able to keep our heart rates up. We wanted to continue to do our program, not Jürgen's program.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Martin and Harry wanted to be sitting on a launch at the end of our blades.
Yeah.
And I remember one session we did from Ely, it was kind of 24K or whatever. And beforehand, Martin had said to Simon, what I want you to do is I want you to do this. Do you understand? If Simon's going, yeah. And they talked it through a bit, and he said, fine, just be clear, this is what I want. And for the first stroke, kind of paddling off in falls, Harry was going, no, Simon, you know what we're talking, no, yes, no. And for 24K, Harry only spoke to one person. I mean, it was brutal, absolutely brutal. And they were ridiculously exacting, and you can't do that in Silveretta. And also, I think because of who we were, our physiology didn't necessarily produce better results with altitude. Mm-hmm. For Steve and Matt, it worked brilliantly. For us, not so much. So we went away, we did our thing in Ely, and the one of the kind of challenges we had is Martin wanted us to do a 30 minutes at rate 30 at 130 splits. And the Dutch had done it in 96 when they got a gold medal. And that was one of the markers. Just how much easy speed can you get at rate 30? And that was one of the big tests we did at Ely, and we did it relatively easily.
And you can row for half an hour straight.
You can row for half an hour, straight line, rate 30, just tapping it like, 130 splits, bang. And that's, and at the same time, Steve Ingham was with us and kind of testing us and going, Ben, your physiology's slipping. You've got to. So I started doing more sessions on the ergo, harder stuff on the ergo. So, we kept track of everything really carefully. And the Ely camp was really good. It's really good. And then we went to Gold Coast, which was all right. Yeah, it was good.
How did that go? How long before do you turn up for the games? 4 weeks?
We probably had 2 weeks in the Gold Coast, and then we might have been in the village 5 days before the first race.
Yeah.
So how much were you walking around the village trying to contain the excitement, knowing how well you're prepared and how good of a chance you have, versus like, okay, let's just describe that for us. I don't want to project too much of like how you guys must have felt.
So we went in really confident that if we performed well, we were fast enough to win. And only one thing was going to be good enough. And the percentage games people play on training camps, Jürgen's percentage games are going, right, let's rank all crews. We're not going to play the game. We're not interested what anybody's percent is, including ours, because we're not racing any of them. Mm. And so I remember the first day we were doing, I can't remember what the pieces were, 2 1500s and 1,000 or whatever it was. And the first one we just want to work on the placement. The second one we just want, and our percentages were low because we were just doing technical sessions at rate. And people were kind of going, they're really slow and they look pretty happy because we were going, we're getting the placement really well. And we were just going, we're not interested in the percentages. We're interested in improving as much as we can. So when we race the people we need to race, we'll be ready.
Yeah.
And so we kind of just, we talked about having bullshit filters. We weren't interested in what anyone thought of us. We could not care less. What was important was what the 9 of us in the crew thought, what Harry, what Martin, what Hot Bun singing, what Shambles thought. That was what was interesting. And we were going to do our thing. Yeah, we were going to do our thing.
Nice. And how did it go then?
All right.
I know how it finished, but how did it start?
The heat was horrible. The heat, I mean, we had the Aussies in the heat and we lost. We rode so badly.
Pressure, nerves, just
pressure and nerves.
Yeah.
We kind of stopped talking to each other. We kind of thought, we got to row really nicely, and if we kind of row nicely, it'll be all right. And afterwards, Harry Marn kind of pointed out, he said, if you just guys want to just, look pretty, F off to the equestrian centre. If you actually want to race, stay down here. And
that's quite often a tricky balance, isn't it? The more you start like perfecting the strokes, the power just comes down, and you can quite often find yourself on the seesaw.
Yeah. And Harry was just, he was going, technical brilliance. That's what we need. And he was going, the only reason I want you to technically row well is so that you can apply more power. Mm-hmm. That's the only, so that you can, provide more power, give less check. That's the only reason for the technique. And the heat, we went out, the rep rather, we went out angry, really, really angry. And we smacked it along, and we had a length in the first 500 and kind of were hanging on at the end, but we won by about a length. It was ugly and really aggressive. And then we went, right, we now need to get the balance. We now need to get the balance between these two things. And in the final, we got the balance really well. It was really, really aggressive.
Yeah.
And really sharp, really precise. It was good.
Yeah. Did you know on the way to the start, were you like, it's on? Or you kind of had a feeling throughout the day that it was going to be a good race? Or you just sort of...
So the day before was an amazing race. The day before, we went down early. We did I think we might have done 2 loops or 1 loop. I can't remember. On the last loop, we did 250 off the start. It was really, really quick. Really quick. Yeah. I can't remember what the number is. Stevie Trapmore says his cruise is still, it was really, really quick. And then we did the last 250. And the grandstand was already 2/3, 3/4 full. Mm-hmm. And as we started winding it towards a kind of 250 marker, 250 to go marker, some Brits saw us and started going, "Go on, GB, go on." And they were drowned out by whether it was 10 or 20,000 Aussies chanting, "Aussie, Aussie, Aussie, oi, 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 Aussie." And I remember it was an amazing, we kind of, did this at 44 or something, just flying and finishing with kind of all the hairs kind of standing up and just go, to beat them in front of this is going to be amazing. And it was. We went back, we watched Ed and Greg come forth with the French. I mean, that French pair. If anyone hasn't watched that race, you've got to watch the men's pairs final. You've got to watch the French. It was incredible.
Have you heard what he said? So asked him, the bellman said he was just screaming the Strokeman's children's names. Yeah. Mental.
And Ed and Greg were interviewed after. They were kind of dragged across, and Steve Ryder put a microphone in their face and went, how's it feel? And you go, I mean, just look at them.
Yeah.
And we had that. And then an hour later, we watched the full win. Which went, what do we want? Which side of this do we want to be? And and we nailed it.
Any point during the race that you were like, we've got this?
At 1,000 meters, I remember looking across, seeing the Croatians going, we're going to be Olympic champions, we're going to be Olympic champions, we're going to be Olympic champions, we're going to be Olympic. And then at kind of 5:04, somewhere just after the 500 meter to go mark, Rolly calling for more and just going, actually, I'm done now.
Yeah.
Our plan was to do the first 500 as fast as we could. At 500, we put in a 35-stroke sprint, 5 strokes long, 30 strokes, length and power, to kickstart the second 500. And we just, the plan had been, take a lead on the first stroke, take more of a lead on the second stroke, take more of a lead on the third stroke, and just keep going until we died. So we hit 500 gone, 35 strokes to kickstart that 500.
Mm-hmm.
We got to 1,000, another 35 strokes, 5 to set it up, 30 strokes, nailing it.
That's a long burst.
At 12:50, 35 strokes. And then 500, we were going to build in the last 500. We got to the last 500, just went, we're done.
Keep it here.
We're done. We got, and just seeing everybody pile back. We died in the last 500. It was horrible. We were the 5th fastest, I think, in the last 500. 4th or 5th fastest. Having been the fastest for the first 3 500s, the last 500 was horrible. But if you go into the 8th final with a length lead, you don't lose.
Yeah. And you look at it now since then, it's quite often the crew that's willing to just put their hand in the fire a bit longer early on, because there's not much else that's separating anyone.
We went through, I can't remember how many years worth of 8th finals, World Championships and Olympics. The Dutch in 96 weren't leading at 500. They were leading by about 600. Basically, 95%, I can't remember the numbers now, of crews that win a World Championship 8th final are leading at 500 gone. You go out there, you grab it. And we knew we had a really, really fast pace. It wasn't just 500 fly and die. It was 500, and we had the ability to back it up. And we knew that every time we'd race the Aussies, which was four times that season, we'd race them in Vienna. They were faster in the last 500. We'd race them in Henley. They were faster the whole way down, including the last 500. We'd race them in Lucerne. They were faster in the last 500. We'd race them in the Heat. They were faster in the last 500 and the whole way down. There was no point in racing them in front of an Aussie grandstand in the last 500. They would beat us every day. So we had 1,500 meters to make sure that their sprint, and they took, I think, 3 seconds out of us in the last 500.
Okay.
But I think we went in with 3.8. We beat them by 0.8.
Crossing the line? How does that feel?
Please tell me it wasn't just relief.
Relief. The first thing was relief.
Yeah.
The first thing was relief because we've done it. And then you go, we've done the Olympics. And then you go, we've done the Olympics.
Yeah.
And it kind of, it builds. It was pretty good. The medal ceremony was in fact, we rode over to the press pontoon. We kind of wandered around in a bit of a daze. I don't know, swearing at lots of people, including Princess Anne, who was there. And then we kind of were told to get back in the boat and row over to the pontoon. And Lewis Attrell went, right, get round. And he went, right, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to sing. And standing on the pontoon, waiting for them to go, they'd gone and the bronze medalists are off, the silver medalists are, and then you're kind of waiting, they go, and just kind of waiting for the Olympic champions are Great Britain. It was amazing. And then standing, singing our hearts out, kind of arms around each other, singing our hearts out. It was good.
Amazing.
9 years. 9 years it took me to win a race.
Yeah.
It was good.
Did you know before that was going to be your last Olympics?
I was pretty sure.
Yeah.
I was third games.
Yeah.
I was getting married 3 weeks later. I think I'd done it. I'd had enough. So that was it. I didn't want to make my mind up until afterwards, but I was pretty sure it would be.
So you had obviously career plans for afterwards from rowing too?
I had no career plans. I didn't want to think about it. And I know the lifestyle advisors are trying to go, you've got a plan beforehand. And I was going, I don't want to know. I've got one thing that I need to do. When I've done that, I'll think about the next thing.
Love it.
Yeah. The same sort of attitude at the thought of starting to think about I thought in my head, as soon as I start thinking about what's coming after rowing, I may as well just quit. Because if I'm not 100% here, it's over. But that's not, you're right, it's not very smart. It's
not what you're advised to do.
No.
But there we go. So I kind of, finished, went right. Next thing, I haven't seen my fiance, I haven't given her any attention for the last however many months. Wedding next day, 3 weeks. And then we came back from backpacking 2-3 months later.
Nice.
My wife was pregnant. I had no job and we were living with my dad. And went, right, time to get a job. And it took me 4 months of, working on it every day to find a job.
That's nothing. You've done 9 years of working on something every day.
Yeah.
To succeed. 4 months, so easy.
And I got a job and I was kind of running training courses. There were 17 other people in the team running these training courses. And I was really clear. They were really, really good. And I was really, really bad. And so there was this thing of going, I want to be better. I want to be as good as them.
That's a tough point, isn't it, post rowing career, where you start to become the best in the world at something, and then you've got to go and do something and be rubbish again. And that's a strange, difficult thing.
Yeah, it was. I was kind of okay. I was kind of. I don't know if you can be competitive when you run training programs, but I was. I'm just going in.
If you're a rower, you were.
I didn't. I knew I was going to be bad, and that was fine. But I wanted the improvement curve to be as steep as it could be.
Do you think that was just in you anyway, or do you think that process, sort of 98 to 2000, how aware were you that what you were doing at the time was kind of special and different? Aware, you knew it.
So I guess kind of finishing the Olympics, I was going, we've clearly been through this pretty amazing arc of change.
Mm-hmm.
What we've done has been different. It's worked. It's been really effective. I knew Greg did stuff with some kind of corporate training company, Lane 4, as it was. And I went, we have changed significantly what we did so we could get a different result. There must be something in this that I want to go and do in business.
Mm-hmm. Talking about creating almost like a personal brand back in 2000 is just mind blowing. So early to the game. Compared to now, people have personal brands out of anything, but what you've done is actually so incredible.
And I didn't want to create a personal brand. I kind of worked for a training company and I didn't talk about rowing at all. We ran these mindset, behavior change, belief training courses, and I didn't talk about the Olympics at all. For the first, I might spend 8 days working with a group of people from some company over a period of months. And at the end, they might think I was an enthusiastic rower because I told a kind of handful of andos, but I didn't want to talk about the past. I was going, it's got to be the future. It's got to be the future. And I kind of worked for them for 3 or 4 years and then thought, right, I'll set up my own thing. And I couldn't sell I couldn't sell in any training courses and people just wanted me to do. And by that point, I started doing a few speeches. And I go, I don't want to do speeches. I want to do the training courses. But people were asking me to do speeches. So I then went, right, tell you what, if I write a book, that'll show, that I can do more than just speeches. I've got lots of knowledge here. And so I approached a friend who I'd worked with in this company and went, she had actually just been made redundant, and I called her the next day. I went, "Congratulations, we can write a book." She wasn't very happy with that, but anyway, Harriet and I wrote the book, and I kind of then built the brand. Will it make the boat go faster? But I wasn't smart enough to do it intentionally. It was kind of, I wrote the book, and then the question. I mean, it's been an amazing question, and I now got a business called Will it make the boat go faster? And I think the question is kind of pretty well known.
Was that sort of a mantra from that time? Was that something
I can't remember how we came up with the question.
Yeah.
Whether it was kind of Lewis being late and Simon just going, "You're not making the boat go faster," or whether it was, I can't remember quite where the question came from, but we kept pushing on it the whole time and going, is that really, that comment, the ego showing up, is that really making the boat go faster?
Yeah.
With how we're, I remember kind of stupid things like, walk in the boathouse in Hammersmith, you've got stairs to get up to the gym or the changing rooms. And if someone was walking noisily up and down stairs, somebody goes, "It's not making the boat go faster, you're not coordinated." If we want to be coordinated on your feet in the boat, be coordinated on the stairs.
Yeah. That's the one problem is like once you start down that path, all of a sudden, then every single thing. Are these Rice Krispies making the boat go faster?
Yeah. Doing box jumps and stuff, plyometric jumps, going, you've got to be silent. Be coordinated in the boat, be coordinated on the box.
Yeah.
And we challenged, straightening your arms, doing chin-ups. You're not going to start the catch with Ben on what? Come on, it's going to make the boat. So we started to challenge everything about making the boat go faster. And so kind of writing the book, I kind of started doing, when I did start doing talks, it was, will it make the boat go faster was a pretty sticky, businesses liked it. It's a sticky question. So that was the title of the book. And third edition now, will it make the boat go faster? The question has worked really, really well.
What have you added to the third edition?
So actually we've cut down quite a lot of stuff. The second edition got a bit fat, and we thought actually it's got to be easier to read again. It's got to be sharper. And what we've added is actually more kind of other kind of case studies, stories of a success. And we have, between Harry and I now, we've kind of been working with companies since we wrote the first edition, a total of 30 years between the two of us. We just learned quite a lot from business and putting it into practice. So we brought kind of more of those stories in, and we sharpened the whole thing to make sure it's more useful than it was. That's what we've done.
So you've added clarity.
We've added more clarity.
Yeah, that's fantastic. The brand, obviously, the question, will it make the boat go faster? I think to younger athletes now is just so synonymous with the sport. They won't even know that it's sort of that story that's inspired it. It's just kind of become such a common saying.
Yeah, 100%. Like there's hundreds of crews I've been in part of, crews that I've coached from at Leander or even just Oxford College level or everywhere it comes up all the time. It's used so prolifically in rowing.
It's a great question, and it's not that we came up with it. I think the Australian America's Cup 8 in 1984. I think their boat was called the Boxing Kangaroo, and they talked about will it make the boat. It's an obvious question.
Yeah.
I guess through the book and stuff, it's just something that more and more people are using.
So I think sometimes when we had Matt Britton on here, he was quite good at sort of talking about the things that we do well in rowing that we don't realize are transferable. And I think there's a lot of people who've learned a lot of skills in rowing who just aren't even aware that they've learned skills that businesses are like really keen to get hold of. What were maybe some of those things that you sort of didn't necessarily realize would transfer as well as they did?
I guess for me, when at the age of 28, I'd never had a job. I'd only ever rowed. Had no idea what was required. But I think, so it's now quite interesting. It's now quite interesting working with loads and loads of different businesses, and I employ kind of a number of rowers. I think there are so many transferable skills about, the one's ability to actually want to improve and change rather than just settling for the status quo and doing the same thing over and over again. The whole, whether it be, will it make boat go faster, marginal gain, whatever it is, about actually being willing to plan and review and learn and plan and review comes out really, really strongly. I think the work ethic. I think rowers have got an amazing work ethic that is really needed in work environments. I think the ability to actually work with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. In my business, we need to operate as a team. And when you've got people who have been part of eights, you know a fair bit about operating as a team with people, whether you like them or not.
That's a big one for me, yeah. Yeah. And I think there's always that assumption, isn't it, that, oh, you must be absolutely best mates with everyone in your boat. Like, it doesn't work like that.
No.
And it doesn't matter if the shared goal is...
If the shared goal is more important.
Yeah.
If it becomes about you and me, then but it's got to be about going, no, we have a shared goal, and that is the thing that's most important. I think there's loads of stuff about resilience. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to win every race you do. Most rowers, now you turn up at Dorney and basically you kind of, if you race there, 3 times through the season or whatever,
yeah,
basically everybody in the country is going to be there.
Yeah.
And you're going to get, most people are going to get their ass kicked most times. So actually the resilience of going, we can improve, we can change, we can deal with this, we can, coming back, having thought you'd come wherever and you've come a bit lower, and going, kind of the frustration and disappointment, and then going, right, we'll go again. I think there's so much stuff where we don't get what we want. Yeah. And our ability to actually pick ourselves up, dust ourselves down, and go again. There are all of those skills that are just totally, they're life skills. They're not business skills or work skills. They're just life skills.
It's just an elite mindset, and you can apply it to anything you do, but it's how to be the best.
What do you do if you fail and you go again? You effectively callous your mindset. So you're just becoming strong and resilient by just the act of not quitting and continuing to keep going.
And I think one thing that stands rowing apart to a lot of other sports is the volume of work.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think, lots of sports, there's resilience, there's teamwork, but I think rowing the volume of work that you've got to put in makes rowers pretty different. They're willing to work harder than most people and really make sure they're getting the most out. If you look at most school boat clubs, the GCSE and A-level results are on average better than the rest of the school, because you've got a bunch of people who are really focused and really working hard. And that, it's not the same with the rugby club or the hockey crowd club or anything else. Because of the volume, you've got to be organised, you've got to be disciplined, you've got to work hard. I think that's fundamental.
Yeah, for me, so my school was up to 16 and then had a college as well. But your results from GCSEs would, if you didn't do well, they wouldn't invite you back. And I hated school and I hate revision, I hate learning, but I love rowing. And it's like, well, if I'm going to come back and do, JCT 17 and 18 here, then I've got to commit to rowing. So then rowing became the reason to do the schoolwork, which I think was quite good for me.
And also it's good for your brain as well to have that much exercise. You clear your mind. Obviously, when you're doing a long UT2 session, it's like we talked about as if rowing's a therapy as well sometimes.
Yeah. So now I guess, everyone's finished GCSEs, last A-levels this week or next week.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting where you got kind of camps of some parents going, oh my God, they can't possibly take time rowing. And other parents going, my God, thank God they got a break from revision to actually go and relax, do something different, and then have more focused time.
Yeah.
And the ability to switch it up while studying, I think, is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always, I work with a few juniors as well. And this is a discussion that comes up with their parents. And you're like, number one, how many hours a day can you purposefully revise? Because it's not 18, is it? So there must be some time in there to row. And then the other thing is Ryan Domain, who coaches at Headington, who I think we've got on next week. We were talking to him about this subject, and he's a real spreadsheet guru. And he's basically produced a spreadsheet of athletes that stopped rowing or stopped doing the sport and continued to do the work, and athletes that kept doing it. And statistically speaking, you'll do better if you keep doing the sport. On the basis that your coach is working with you. Yeah, it's not just there's some programs like maybe a time at Oxford, and Shaw Bowden was like, well, we go rowing at 2:00, and if you have labs, I don't care. Maybe is not as helpful, but
where the kind of school or club kind of understand. So, my kids were at Latimer Upper for a long time, and I kind of helped coach there for a bit. And they kept track of the boat club exam results, and they're better than the school average.
Yeah.
So when you've got the understanding, you can do both. And so, the kids that go to America, quite often people go, so is your degree going to be rowing? Going, no. If you don't pass your exams, so my daughter's crew one year, just before they qualified for the NCAAs, one of the girls had failed an exam. She got taken out of the crew. She wasn't allowed to race at the Pac-9 qualifiers. It's that you need the discipline to do both, which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I never had that, having dropped out, failed at Oxford Poly and dropped out, but anyway, most people do both.
Yeah. Interesting. How would you compare training for the Olympics and trying to achieve a gold medal versus walking into a business and it is fires that you just need to put out in order for I don't know, cash flow to turn positive? Do you want to talk a little bit more about some of the work that you're doing in the Willett organization? You've obviously got a headquarters. You employ really cool people like Kath Bishop, for example.
Yeah, so we've got there are 20 of us. We've got one current rower at Thames, one current rower at Vesta, 2 past Thames rowers, and then we've got a number of associates. So Kath Bishop is an associate; she does some work with us. Steve Ingham, I was working with the physiologist, and there are various other people we kind of bring in when needed, and we do work with corporates to go, how do we get this team to be more effective, or how do we get clarity of the goal? And it seems as though I was with a big global technology company last week. Their technology team had an offsite in Edinburgh, and we kind of were having this conversation. The partway through, I went, can you just all get a post-it note and just write down what your team goal is? It should be pretty clear. And I knew what was going to happen. There were, of the 12 of them, there were 11 different answers. The chief technology officer and his chief of staff wrote the same thing, and everyone else wrote something different. And it's so common in organizations for people to assume they've got the same goal, to assume they know what's happening, rather than actually discuss it properly and write it down and keep coming back to it.
So, and again, I remember doing this exact same thing in rowing, when you sort of think, hang on, let's stop the boat. I'm not quite sure. Right. So the Cox is saying pin the finish. What do you think that means? And you think, well, everyone knows that and they'll all come with a different answer.
Different. Yeah. Or even kind of more basic. You've got some people going, I really want to make the Wednesday at Henley. And you've got other people going, I want to make the Saturday at Henley. Or other people going, Henley's great, but actually it's women's Henley that I really want to. Yeah. And so, all sorts of different levels.
Yeah.
Within a crew, people will have different goals and different, and it's, I had conversations with Stevie Trapmore recently about, just getting people to have the same understanding and the same goal when they go on the water. So pinning the finish, do we have 8 understandings? Do we have 1 understanding? Or have we agreed we're going to do it, but actually you're working on the catch when the rest of us, we said we're going to work on the finish.
Yeah, yeah.
And so a lot of the work we do is just trying to go, how do you get clarity? The question, will it make the boat go faster? That was the perfect question for us because we were after boat speed. Mm-hmm. With a different team or business team, really, what is the goal?
Do you find that inducing change in companies is easier or simpler than in a high performance Olympic squad?
In a high performance Olympic squad, there might be more ego. And how often does ego get in the way of stuff?
Yeah.
An argument where, me becoming right becomes more important than us winning.
Yeah.
I mean, but in, businesses are complex, when they're big, and it's really hard to get really good alignment, and it's really, really important. Because if you don't, you've got more and more people pulling in different directions.
And presumably a lot of businesses aren't able to just have a single focus anyway. Although I guess you can rank your focuses, but
yes,
I remember
those teams, yeah.
Because I remember not long after I'd finished rowing, I'd gone back to Caversham because I'd looked after equipment, and I think there was a conversation with Will Satch, and I remember him being like, "Oh, what's it like?" At the back end, he was still in the squad and stuff, and I was like, "Look, it's great and it's different, and I'm building my business and it's really fun." But I think what I miss most, definitely the camaraderie, but also what I miss most is what I would call having like a single problem life. Life becomes incredibly easy when you get to just, if you say, this is the one thing I want to do. Am I going to go to that pie? No. Am I going to do that? No, because it's rowing comes first. And actually life isn't that simple.
Yeah. And so in my business, we've got what we call a crazy goal, which is we want to be world class at helping our clients and each other achieve their gold medals. That's what we talk about, and we've got measures around making a difference, which is are we the stuff we do, does it actually work? We got financial targets, and we've got kind of people kind of engagement numbers. And sometimes I'm going, we're struggling a bit with one of these things. We need to focus more on this. That doesn't mean the thing at the top about wanting to make helping people achieve their gold medals. It doesn't mean that's not most important. That is, but we've just got to pull this lever a bit in order to achieve that. Or sometimes you've got to pull this lever a bit. And I think when you're trying to pull different levers, sometimes people get confused about what's the priorities in order to achieve what's most important. They go, no, we're still going on the same road. Just because I'm saying we need to focus on this priority doesn't mean that the other things aren't unimportant. It doesn't mean they don't matter. It doesn't mean we're not going in that direction. But so often we get into one of the 17 priorities we've got that's critical. And you go, well, firstly, that just doesn't work. So trying to get people to clarify and refine is quite hard to do in large, complex organizations. Profit and client happiness, or profit and employee engagement, will always rub up against each other at certain times. You're going, do we do more to help our clients, or do we want to make more profit from them? There is conflict there. And so long as if you're going, but profit's more important, or customer well-being, customer satisfaction is more important, then that becomes, whereas you go, well, what's the big picture goal? Because if we're trying to do that, then we go, how do we figure out our bits between our different teams and departments in order to achieve that?
Because then you go, because profit is the reason, but in order to maximize our profit long term, we need to have good client relations. So therefore, the client relation thing becomes part of maximizing profits.
If you're going for long-term growth, or if you're going for short.
Right. Yeah.
So it depends on what's at the top. And I think for most organizations, once you get past 20 people, maybe even 10 people, having a profit number at the top is the wrong thing to have at the top. Because most people in a bigger organization don't care about profit. You're going, so you want me to work harder so you can make more profit? I mean, how does that, so having let's hit 17 billion this year rather than 50, most people are going, so what?
Yeah.
So actually having something else that sits at the top where everybody in a company of whatever size has got a chance of engaging in and buying in some sort of purpose type thing. And they're going to be measures. They're going to be financial measures.
Sure.
We kind of get that. But if spending 8-10 hours a day just working for somebody else's profit, why? Really? There are better things in the world to do.
Yeah.
So we help people set a goal that has got a chance of being compelling, that people can understand. And that's really fun to do. We work with loads and loads of really different organizations, and it's really fun.
How do you pick the ones that you want to work with? Do they approach you, or do you go looking for them?
Yeah. So people approach us. There are a few organizations where we look at and we go, we don't really want to do that because there's just not going to be a cultural fit. Or there are some organizations where they think they want to do something, but they don't actually want to change. And then it's just kind of demoralizing to try and get them to change when they don't want to. There's no point.
Yeah, you get a contract, but then again, you have to put your employees through a period of a few months where the work's going to suck. So
yeah. And if we can afford not to do the work, sometimes you go, we need to do this work. We've got a whole lot of salaries to pay.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can go, actually, this is not what we want to be doing.
Yeah.
We can add more value. And when we're adding more value, we'll enjoy ourselves more. And some clients are really, really hard to work with. And then you've got to weigh up going, they're really hard versus the value the difference we can make. It's about getting the balance.
That's a way that I guess you can share some of the lessons that you've learned from your career with other people in business who've, for example, had nothing to do with the sport. If you were to wave a magic wand and pick another avenue where you were able to help people, what would that be in? I don't know if you thought about what's after, will it? Or is this something that keeps drawing you back and you're looking to do that for the next decade?
I'm for the foreseeable future, I'm totally bought into my business and doing what we do. I love the work we do. I love working with the organizations we work with. I really enjoy it. I've got a great group of people around, and that's what I want to do. Harriet, who kind of wrote the book, she does far more stuff in schools. She does business stuff and a load of school stuff, and she loves doing that. I'm less kind of interested in the school stuff. I will do some school stuff. I'm more interested in the corporate stuff.
Yeah.
But working with like-minded people who want to change and want to improve, it's really fun. And one of the, so as we talked about earlier, the kind of difference between results and performance, like, the performance being the input, most organizations use the word performance to mean results. They look at their month-end numbers and go, oh, look at our performance. And I reckon it's useful actually to go, no, that's the result and the performance is the input. And let's actually focus on this. And there are some really straightforward things that we can do to help people get a better focus on what's really important so that they can get what they want. So there are loads and loads of different avenues we can take. And when you see stuff changing in a business, it's pretty fun.
Do you work mostly with British companies or?
British companies or multinationals.
You wouldn't help the Aussies improve their performance, or there's no grudge, or?
I've done a certain amount of work with Aussie companies.
Okay.
I've worked with the Aussie companies. I've only done virtually. I kind of probably go to the US 5, 6, 7 times a year to work with US businesses. I speak at a lot of. I've spoken in lots and lots and lots of different companies and run kind of programmatic work all over the place.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So with the book, obviously what we've been speaking about, and like you said, with the third version, maybe, I don't know whether you would agree, but maybe the first version was a book for rowers, and maybe this is a version really is for everyone.
We've always tried to make sure it's kind of, it's a rowing story to bring to life some principles that kind of we think are usable anywhere. And chapters around, layered goals. How do you actually set goals clearly about motivation? Unless we actually care about stuff, we're not going to achieve anything anyway. Kind of belief, bullshit filters. How do you actually block out the rubbish? And there's so much rubbish that's kind of going on. There are so many distractions. They're so easy to get pulled away from what's most important. So how do you do that? So, making it happen. Teams, perform versus results, as we spoke about. Change, bounce back ability, taking risks. It's all stuff that is kind of really applicable, whether it be in kind of your business, whether it be in a kind of large multinational, whether it be in a crew. Parenting.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, so it's it would be as good a book for a rower as it would be for someone who's based around the world of rowing. Yeah. As in, but
we're knowing the story. I don't really
have knowledge of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who would read this and not come away learning at least a few things. That would just be ridiculous. How can you not learn from that kind of success?
Yeah. So some of the new examples we got in here. There's one of a actually cheerleading club in East Anglia who have they kind of qualified for the world champs and stuff through stuff they got from this. A guy who actually he was working corporate development, decided he kind of read second edition of the book, decided he wanted to be a better hockey player, did age group representation hockey, and it's kind of, he talks about his journey. There's a kind of small startup that did kind of online maths for kids, how their business grew. There's a kind of large company that generates power throughout the UK through burning rubbish. Chief exec talks about how it kind of helped him develop his team. So, there are business stories in here, and there are, other stories. And we know in order to get a message across, well, telling the story is good.
Yeah.
So there's a story to try and get across some ideas that can make people's boats go faster, whether it be actually their boat or whether it be their business. That's what it's aimed at.
Awesome. I would love to see like an event where you invite a bunch of people who've obviously transformed their life through those stories, and then just bring them together and then have like one big gala. That would be so fun. Yeah,
that'd be fun. Yeah,
cool.
Is there anything else you wanted to say about the book or talk about it before?
No, I think it's going to be published on the 18th, which I think is on Thursday. It's on Thursday. Yeah. And we're really keen to try and make the Sunday Times bestseller list, which closes on the 20th. So time is pretty short.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone listening wants to get a copy, via Amazon, Waterstones, wherever else you want. Do it before the 20th. That'd be really cool.
We'll put a link down in the description.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, episode should release basically tomorrow, which is the day after we're recording this.
Fantastic.
Before we go though, there's another part of you that is still actively drawn into a rowing event for 1 week of the year, and that's pretty prestigious. And since it's coming up, it would be a shame not to talk about it at all. How did you get involved in even being a steward for the Henley Royal Regatta?
So when I stopped rowing, I kind of stepped away from it. I just wanted a break. And then we had a World Cup event at Dorney in 2005. And I thought it'd be great to volunteer. So I volunteered pushing out programs. I can't quite remember what I did. And then 2006, there was a World Championships. And I was asked to be on the organising committee, looking after kind of spectator services, and I had kind of somebody else doing that with me, and I really, really enjoyed that. And then for some really, really weird reason, British Rowing asked me to chair the Junior World Championships in 2011, which was the Olympic test event. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. Thankfully, whoever appointed me, Guy Ellis, who appointed me, also appointed most of the organising committee and found really, really good people. And while I was kind of in the run up to the 2011 Junior World Champs, I was asked to be a steward, which was kind of totally, it was kind of one of those, I was driving home from a work. I remember where I was on the A3 going up kind of towards Roehampton Lane to go home, and got a phone call in the car, and it was Mike Sweeney. And I went, and I'd kind of met Mike a few times and went, what can I do for you? I kind of having no idea where this was going. He said, congratulations. And I just want to tell you you're a steward. I nearly crashed. I kind of nearly crashed into the Asda as I went up the hill. And it's been amazing to be involved. It's been absolutely amazing.
I think it was Richard Phelps, wasn't it? Who was like, congratulations, you've now got an unpaid job every year for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, being involved with the rest is great. I've been on the committee for a number of years. And in 2015, we had a first ever Henley strategy meeting where we agreed we should get parity at the regatta, men and women's racing. And then we kind of left the room. And as people were leaving that evening, it was kind of an all-day Saturday thing. People were going, well, we don't really mean parity. I mean, but the word's nice, but we don't really. And through Steve's dogged determination, and then Phelpsy picking it up. This year, we will have 3 new women's events. Next year, I think one men's event is going to slip to the side, and we will have the same number of events. It's taken 11 years to do it. We've had to stick an extra day onto the regatta. The Tuesday was there so we could get to parity. There have been so many changes that have had to happen so we can do it. It's been really, really hard to do. And it's been fantastic.
Yeah, you've been a part of a group, obviously, that's transformed the sort of the future and the present of the regatta for generations to come. We always talk about how Henley is the same and it doesn't change, but it does actually.
Yeah, and the idea is it never changes, but it keeps changing. So, from 15 years to 10 years ago, there was a kind of 3 women's events, I think. I think there was a single, quad, and 8 international. And now we've got, I can't remember how many. My mind's gone blank. 17 events or something.
Yeah. There's a club quad and things like that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And so it's been so great to be a part of that. And in that time, there've been loads of other changes. Broadcast started
2015.
Okay, my mind's gone blank about all sorts of other changes. There have been corporate partnerships to enable us to do some of the different things. Started 2016, 2017.
Wi-Fi last year in the stewards enclosure?
Nearly.
We're, it's kind of really hard to do. We're testing it.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
We're kind of testing it. We're looking at so many different kind of changes. This year, you can get ice cream at your deck chair if you so want. So
and the radios,
pieces, kind of, and we are Little Lion Med has started up, and 8-10 years ago, can't quite remember, I lose track of time. There have been so many different things we're trying to do to grow the regatta, and I'm clearly biased, but I just love it. I think it is the most amazing event. 16, 17, 18-year-old rowers want to go, they want to be part of it. My mum, who's in her 80s, she loves it. It's one of those kind of multi-generational things. It's the Steward's enclosure, it's the kind of heartbeat of British rowing. And the fact that we attract crews from all around the world to come and get beaten at Henley is amazing. It's, there aren't many events where you can walk into the boathouse where you've got the reigning Olympic champion single sculler boating. And his rack is next door to a junior boys quad. Everybody's in the same warm-up area. There aren't many events like that. The noisiest events I've done, as you were saying earlier, have been at Henley. It's an incredible event where people want to come and race, and spectators want to come and drink pims, catch up with their crewmates from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, and watch a few races.
Yeah.
And, if 300,000 people attend a week, maybe 100,000 don't know there's a river, but 200,000 do. And the races have got enough spectators. I've been so lucky to be a part of it.
It's crazy. I was talking to someone about it the other day, and so I was trying to kind of put it into context. And if it's not like the World Championships of the sport, and it's not like an Olympic multi-sport, it's the biggest event in the world for rowing. My comparison was okay, so imagine the Tour de France is a professional race, but at the same time, you've got school kids out there and universities, and you've got all the women's events and the sculling and the sweep. And imagine all of that going on, and you get to be an 18-year-old rower, and you're going for a warm-up row on Wednesday morning, and all of a sudden you're rowing down the course next to to the German Olympic 8. It's hard to kind of just put into words how incredible that is and rare amongst any sport.
Even in tennis, like Wimbledon and French Open, you don't get to have juniors competing with you. It's after me it's Sabalenka playing, and I'm just this junior or whatever.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. It's a privilege more than anything. We obviously joke about it being like a job for the rest of your life, but it really is. It feels great to give back.
It's so fun to be a part of, and we've had to make lots and lots of really hard choices over the years, and it's been, I think. Yeah, we've just got this fantastic event that does so much for the sport. And, so if you look at how schoolgirls 8s have changed in the last few years because we introduced an 8 for them. When we introduce an event, and, the first one I remember being introduced was the Forley, when British Rowing was saying to the regatta, and this was way before I was involved, men's sculling is pretty weak. Can you bring in a schoolboy quad? And they went, fine. And that has changed sculling in the country.
Yeah, big time.
Whenever the 3 new quads this year, we went and did a consultation. We went around loads of different clubs and went, what do you want? And we were really surprised that they went quads. And we went, fine, you can have 3 quads. But when we, events, there are people competing for them, and it kind of brings up the level in those areas. And it's so cool that we've got an event that so many people want to be part of.
Yeah. It's a culmination for the season, because let's say you're not trialing and you've got a full-time job, and what do you train for? Well, I can row this event at Henley Women's, but afterwards we haven't got now you do have a crew that you can go in and do that.
And it's a culmination of the season, and whether you can go, we were good enough to get to qualifiers, we qualified, we did a Mahiki Wednesday, or we did a Saturday, or there are people, I think, strive for all sorts of different bits of the regatta. And then you've got this thing you can keep coming back to with your crew, with the people you raced against, and it's a rowing gathering. It's and trying to yes, we want to grow it commercially, so we can put more money in the sport, and keeping it a rowers event for rowers. And trying to get the balance right is kind of lots of difficult conversations. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, from the last few years, seeing some of the workings from the inside, there's a lot of changes happening, and obviously the amount of people who just dedicate their entire year to making that experience better of the regatta, and some of the changes that have been brought in this year, new broadcast team, the return of the radios, Wi-Fi here, and all those things is just fantastic.
New broadcast team. So I'm going to be doing lunchtime kind of recap broadcast. We've built a new studio kind of out on the water by the press stand for that. There are, all sorts of different changes that are happening whilst hopefully never changes.
Yes.
Yeah. We want the atmosphere, the feel to be the same. We want the look to be the same. And we want the best crews in the world and relevant, up-to-date spectators to be able to come and enjoy it. Mm. And we're talking about, how do we get the timing stopwatches on broadcast? That's one of the other things we're going to try and do this year. And we've spoken about, should we digitize the whole time and you have, kind of the whole thing done by radio and go, well, but the times don't actually matter. And if it's the whole thing is digitized, what does that take away from the elegant, 100-year-old feel, 180-year-old feel of the event? So we're going, having the timing team standing at the back with stopwatches, we think is right. And actually one of them will be digitally connected to the TV so that the broadcast times come through. But, let's keep the look and feel and the slightly, I'm in charge of the timing team this year, so I've got to be careful what I say. It's pretty accurate, but it's not digital timing. But we don't need digital timing.
It's an event, yeah.
Yeah, let's maintain the look and the feel at certain places. And clearly the photo finish camera is a state-of-the-art photo finish camera. And so where do we, how do we get the experience right? There are no TVs in bars. Because we figure if you go into the bar, you go on to talk to your friends, not to watch racing. If you want to go and watch racing, go and watch racing. Yeah. So we kind of keep looking at the whole thing and going, what do people want from these spaces? How do we improve it whilst not changing it?
Yeah,
no, you're doing incredible job, I think, and I think that's such a great reason to have stewards as people who love the sport and have been in the sport, because, like you said, we have that mind. How can we make this a little bit better? How can we just
better, but not deviating from tradition too much? Yeah, because there's so many events that would love to copy what Henley is, but there's a reason why this event continues to sort of lead and show the way for other events to follow, and this is because of those things.
And I think because it's I think it's also doing a fair bit to drive the standards of rowing. I mean, I was kind of admiring this earlier, little red box.
Yeah.
So many people want these so we were kind of discussing earlier, if you win the schoolboy 8s at Henley, if you win the PE, you can probably pretty confidently say you're the fastest school crew in the world.
Yeah.
We had the best Americans, the best Aussies over last year. They got dispatched quite easily.
Yeah.
If you win the Thames Cup, where do you find find a faster Club 8 in the world? When was the last time a foreign crew won the Thames Cup? 5 years ago?
Oh, wow, yeah.
It happens occasionally, not very often.
Yeah.
And they all come and have a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think having an event that people really, really want to take part in and people really value has driven up the standard of rowing across Britain.
100%. Yeah.
And so to have an event like that, I think it's really special. And we've got to keep it. We've got to keep pushing standards, and
occasionally you spend 12 hours in the pouring rain and you come in just to eat half inhaler sandwich and go out next day.
That's a very small price to pay.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like I said, this will be our third year helping the commentary team, and just like seeing how everyone raises their game because of how important they know it is, and how everyone just starts bringing it, and the teamwork that comes together, and I'm commenting on this race, I've got a bit from that race, and you can just see, and then through the week it just builds because you're gathering information, and you can just see how important it is to everyone.
So for all those high achieving personalities, we actually have like an outlet basically, right? where you can channel that for 1 week of the year and still feel great.
We've got a professional team in the office, and then the headquarters on the bridge, and as a committee we come together basically every single month, and we're just constantly trying to refine for this year and look further into the future and go, what are the next set of changes, improvements that need to happen? We're in a changing world.
Yeah.
Stuff, we all have different expectations. Wi-Fi, we go, why isn't there Wi-Fi? Why isn't the signal perfect? So, we've got to be going, what are people going to want? How do we provide it in a site with no sewers, with no, we've got to bring everything on. And so between the full-time team in the office and the committee, we're constantly looking at different angles and going, how do we up it? And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Nothing to.
I had this conversation with 2 weeks ago, because if we'd done this months ago, I'd be like, "Oh, I'm ready."
I got 2 kids racing. I'm really looking forward to watching them. I got a need to race. I'm just can't wait. I can't wait.
Amazing.
That'd be great. Well, we'll make sure to if they manage to pass by us when we're in the commentary box, to give them a good motivation. Yeah. So, that'll be great. Yeah. So normally what we do at the end of our episodes is a quick fire round question.
Right.
They're quick questions, but not quick answers.
Okay.
Unless you want to.
Okay, answer quick, but take your time if you want. Yeah.
So, how we normally start is, out of all the rowing venues that you've trained at, raced at, or visited, what are some of your favorites and why?
Lucerne, amazing. Beautiful. Henley, the best. I've just said why in the last half hour. Sydney's pretty good. Only been there once. There's my top.
They're good.
Three,
yeah.
And then number 4, Ely.
No, not Ely.
What is it? Bleely.
Bleely, yeah.
Imogen called it was so bleak as they call it Bleely.
If you were to repeat one race or one event again when you were a little bit older, either to relive it or rewrite the outcome, what would it be?
I mean, reliving the Olympic final. If I could redo a race and get a different result, the one that I'd most like to do would be redo the grand straight final in 2000. I would love to rewrite that one, redo that, and actually beat the Aussies and win the grand. I re-entered the grand 5 times and I lost every single race I did in the grand. I would love to have won one.
It's so nice, but I'd rather take the Olympic gold.
Yeah, me too. That's so long as nothing else changes.
Yeah. My question is, if you could travel back in time to the age you were when you first fell in love with rowing, what advice would you give that young lad?
I wish I had have got into the learning mindset sooner. I think for so much of my time, it was about, could I work harder? Could I work harder than everybody else? Could I train harder? Could I push myself harder? And not, can I learn faster? And I wish that, actually, I'm having so many years of disappointment. When the success came, it made it so special. Mm-hmm. Being part of that group, that's eighth group, was really, really special. So I don't actually want to change the journey I had, but it would have been nice to go faster earlier. And so just, as we said earlier, just rather than going, if I do the miles, it's enough. Yeah. It's not. I did thousands of junk hours. Yeah, I wish I'd have learned faster.
There's a better way.
Well, there you go. There's some people listening who might be able to pick up that lesson earlier. It's a good one.
So the last question is, who are some of your rowing idols or the people that you've looked up to either during or post your career?
I mean, it's Steve Redgrave. I mean, he was quite good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't actually look around. The people I competed against, I didn't know, actually. I've had so many embarrassing things where people went, oh, yeah, I was going, what did you race? And they went, yeah, the Sydney. Yeah, I was in Sydney in the Aussie 8. Or the, I didn't actually look around me. So in terms of rowing idols, I mean, Roland Barr, who straight the German 8 for years, I actually met him in 2012, and I raced him so many times and he would have gone, no idea who that person is. They're in a really rubbish boat. Don't know. I kind of looked up to him. The Dutch 8, in 96, I thought were absolutely amazing. And I kind of looked up to them. But I guess the people I knew were Steve and Matt, trained alongside them for years and years and years. And Steve, when I first went down to Leander, he was quite into playing touch rugby, which I loved, and kicking a ball around. And I kind of got to know him quite well through that. He was the key person I really, really looked up to and thought was amazing.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but imagine that Steve and Matt had equal ability in a single scull. Which mindset wins? What was the separate? Because it's so uncanny to come across two people that are just so hungry for success.
I think if the two of them, I mean, they must have done trials together. I can't remember the results of trials, but I would, in a single, I put my one on Steve.
Yeah, we spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. We're hopefully going to release that as episode 100 after you. But yeah,
on qualifiers.
That mindset was like unreal. We've sat here and talked to many Olympians and Olympic medalists, and that guy was like.
So I mean, there was an article that came out. I don't remember seeing it, but I remember hearing about it, where some German rowing magazine ranked all sorts of great rowers on various different things, and Steve was really pissed off by it. He was really, really pissed off because he didn't have a 10. You know, it was out of 10. He didn't have a 10 on anything, and he had an 8 or 9 on everything. Whereas other people had a 10 on this and a 3 on that.
Yeah.
You know, Steve had power, he had endurance, he had a mindset, he had, you know, boat moving ability. He had a 9 or 10 on everything rather than being great and not so good.
Yeah.
And as a boat mover, his rhythm, his feel, you know, Matt is an incredible athlete, and he's only got 4 Olympic gold medals and 11 times world champion, I think. Is it 11?
Something like that.
I think Steve's 10. I think Matt's 11 world champions, championship gold medals. And, you know, Matt, I think, didn't have the boat feel that Steve had. You know, Steve's boat feel, his boatmanship, I think, was absolutely amazing. And he had the engine, and when I saw Steve, it was kind of Barcelona when he was kind of struggling with kind of colitis then. And then I think he got more mellow through the other games. He was still driven and difficult. And I think kind of at the beginning, when I didn't know him, I think he was, difficult, bloody-minded, obstinate, and, his mindset. And I kind of would have loved to have seen more. Maybe I wouldn't have loved to have seen more, but he was kind of the complete package.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great answer. I was just since you were obviously training so close with them at the time during the Leander days.
I think most days I'd go, Steve Redgrave.
Still, yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
Ben, this is an episode that we've actually looked forward to for a really, really long time. Before we even had the idea to sort of set up the podcast, it would be great to talk to you, obviously because of your authorship, but because of what you've done in rowing as well. And I think just the way that you talk about that story and you're able to sort of put it in other people's minds to the point that they can relate, I think that's a skill which is underappreciated. So it's been terrific being able to sort of get you here and have a chat, and thank you for sharing your hard-earned wisdom.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. It's been great to be here. I've really enjoyed the chat. Thank you.
Good. Yeah. I mean, we always said when we started this, what do rowers love more than rowing? And I'm talking about rowing.
And the bit beforehand of also kind of admiring all this is a great shrine. This is amazing. I love it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, it's good. It's good to be able to finally get it all out of the attic and just have somewhere for it to go, because my wife wasn't going to let it go up in the house. So that was that. And I just want to say as well, like I said, I heard you speak in 2011, just as I was starting out in my international career, and that definitely helped me. And I took a lot from that of early success doesn't mean you can't be successful. And I still now, as a coach or do a bit of mindset coaching, like still will bring the example of you up, of how long you spent in the team, and there's more than one way to skin a cat with the work that you did in that 8 and the sheer bloody mindedness of having to find your own way. And it's been awesome to speak to you. I'm really excited it's been a long time since I read it, so I'm definitely gonna have another go over it and see what I can do for business here.
It's nice to have you in the studio. Nice that you like it. It's the only rowing podcast studio in the world, as far as we're aware,
I think,
for an in-person podcast. Yeah. So come back anytime.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Good luck for Henley, I guess we'd say next.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Good.
There'll be great racing. Yeah, loads of great racing, loads of great PIMs, loads of great bit. It'll just be, I'm really looking forward to it. It'll be great.
Likewise. See you in a couple of weeks.
Bye. In a few weeks, Henley.
Yeah.
As for today, this concludes everything for this episode. So on that note, easy there.
Cue the music.